Hey everybody. So as everybody probably knows by now, the NHL and the NHLPA have agreed upon a 24-team playoff tournament. So it's an expanded playoffs over the normal playoffs. But some things still haven't been decided. We know that there's going to be a best of five play-in between 16 teams. The top four teams in each conference are going to have a first round bye. And it's not sure yet if there's going to be a mini tournament between those teams to determine the seeding. So on this, I'm going to do a prediction video for I'm going to predict the playoffs. So this is going to go by the seeding that it is now, and obviously, since it hasn't been decided whether they're going to actually do that, I'm not going to predict different seedings, and then it'll change everything. So right now, this is kind of how it would stand, unless they do this mini tournament round robin between the four teams in each conference. And we'll tackle that when we get to there. If they do change that up, I'll do another video and give you my new predictions. So also, something interesting, I guess, I haven't written down anything other than what's on the board here. So I've made no predictions in advance. I'm going to do this on the fly and try to give you my reasons, and maybe even give myself the reasons. But I'm going to do this on the fly without having anything written down about who I want. And you'll see I'm not holding any papers. My memory's not good enough to remember all of it anyways if I had done it. And we're going to get right to it. So this is how it sits. There's an East and a West play-in. These are the teams. These are the matchups for the first round. And we're going to start with Toronto Columbus Blue Jackets. I think if Toronto, as much as it pains me to say, if Toronto and Columbus are matched up, if Toronto's firepower shows up, so while their big guns up front show up and they can play decent defense, and Freddie Anderson is really good in nets, which he's definitely capable of, I really think Toronto takes this. It wouldn't shock me to see the Blue Jackets win. I think with Tortorella behind the bench, that's kind of a bit of an advantage for them. But I still think Toronto, I think they need to win this. I really do. I think they come out and they win the first round. It's not the first round, by the way. It's the play-in. It's not the first round. So I go with Toronto first up. Next up is Pittsburgh Montreal. I don't think Max Domi is going to be playing because of the diabetes. So there's going to be teams that players have underlying health conditions. Diabetes is one of the worst things for the COVID if you get it. I don't think Max Domi plays right now. So that's going to be a bit of a blow, I think, to Montreal. As much as it pains me to say. Now, this is taking back that I think the last time these two teams met, when Montreal wasn't expected to make the playoffs, and they faced Pittsburgh and they beat them. So I just, also because I don't want them to screw up the draft choice, the draft pick, I'm taking Pittsburgh here. Now, it's nothing new. I said this from, I'm sure I said this in a video or two. I'm taking Pittsburgh here. I think Pittsburgh, everybody healthy. I think Pittsburgh has more firepower than Montreal. They seem to have that thing where they were decimated with injuries all last season. This one that hasn't finished, and they still managed a way to stay right there at the playoffs, and I think they win here. Next up, Carolina, New York Rangers. I know Carolina was one of the teams that did not want this playoffs to go on, and one of the reasons they cited was having to go against Artemi Panarin and Shesterkin, the goalie, the new goalie, the rookie goalie in New York. So Carolina and I don't have a nice history together for last season. Well, the Aho offer sheet that put out a video. Anyway, they don't like me over there. So I am going with the Rangers here for exactly the reasons why Carolina says they didn't want to play them, and that is Artemi Panarin and this new goalie. He looks like he's really hot. I think he was 9-1 in his first 10 games. I mean, he looks like a really top goalie of the future. Next up is New York Islanders and the Florida Panthers. I kind of more stuck on here. I think Florida's going to I think they have some of the better. That's not fair to say. I think the Islanders probably have a little bit more firepower, even though they're not a high-scoring team. I know that. Sounds weird, but I think they have the better coaching. Yeah, is that fair to say to Joel Kenneville? I said I'm doing this on the fly. I'm going with the Islanders. That's my reason. Uh, Next up, am I spinning too much? By the way, I hope all the writings are big enough. That was brought to my attention, even though I knew until I get a bigger board. So I'm going to try to write bigger so you guys can see. It's a lot easier to see this here. Next up is Calgary Winnipeg. I've watched a couple of these, and Calgary is who they seem to take here. I don't agree. Winnipeg was a team that everyone thought with a decimated defense, all the losses on defense, they weren't even going to be able to compete for a playoff. And they are, and they did, and they were a lot better than they seemed to be all year. Calgary was struggling all year, I thought, and I don't know if this layoff gets them back to being the Calgary that they could be or should be. I still think Winnipeg wins here. They're the underdog, and they've kind of done it with smoke and mirrors. Well, it keeps up, and they're going to win. Next up is Edmonton, Chicago. Chicago was, like Montreal, the last place team to come into this tournament. And Edmonton in 5th place, but, I mean, you've got, they're top heavy. You got McDavid, you got Draisaitl. Their defense isn't the best, and their goaltending, I think it's Mike Smith. I like him, but is it good enough to go far? But I don't know, but it's good enough to win this series. And I think it's Edmonton. Next up, Nashville and Arizona. Arizona, after acquiring Taylor Hall, it didn't do the trick for them, and they were in 6th place, I think, when they acquired Hall, and they've gone down to I think they're just outside the playoffs when it was suspended. So I think Nashville's struggling all season. They've got a lot of good players there. They've got good depth, good goaltending, good defense. I think they've got enough to win here. Definitely in this round, maybe even go quite far. So I take Nashville. Next up, last series of these is Vancouver, Minnesota. I like Vancouver. I think Vancouver's got a good future. I think they have enough to beat Minnesota. Minnesota seemed to get a little bit better as the season went on. They've got good goaltending in Dubnyk. I think it's Vancouver. I think Vancouver has more than Minnesota, and Vancouver is going to win here. And remember, everybody, these are games with no fans in the stands. There's no home ice advantage in any of these games. So that is going to mean that we're going to take a quick break so I can fill in the board so it doesn't take too long for the video. Okay, so we're back with the board filled in like it should. Am I in a good spot? No. So we got Boston, Toronto again. Toronto does not like this matchup. I honestly, I don't think they get past this matchup. I think like Montreal, Boston is bad for Boston. Seems like Boston, Toronto, bad for Toronto. Now Toronto really needs to win here, and they need to break that monkey that's on their back with it. I don't think they do it. So I'm going Boston. And that's not even a knock on Toronto because I'm a Habs fan because I don't like either team. So I don't think Toronto can beat Boston right now. Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, that is the Battle of Pennsylvania. Should be pretty good. I think with some of the injuries that Pittsburgh had, I know everyone should be back healthy. I just think that they're kind of a jinx team this year. I think this might carry on into this round, and I think Philadelphia is a team that is up and coming. They've got a really solid offense, defense, goaltending, and I think they put it all together here, and they win. Next up, Tampa Bay, New York Rangers. What's his name? McDonough. Ryan McDonough is now with Tampa. Used to be the captain of the Rangers. The Rangers are an up-and-coming team now with Panarin, with the changes that they made with the Shesterkin, the goalie. I don't think it's enough to beat Tampa here, though. And I think Tampa Bay wins here. Tampa's got a solid, strong team. I think Tampa Bay has that chip on their back. They need to win. They can't have another playoffs where they go out in the first round. And I don't think they're going to here. Next up, Washington, New York Islanders. The interesting thing here, I guess, is the coach, Barry Trotz, coached both teams. And I don't think it was a happy departure from Washington. Now, that being said, I think Washington, they've got a lot of guys leaving. Some guys from what and I don't know the truth of this is, if they're that happy with the team, I think I like Trotz as a coach. Guy manages to win. And I'm going to give them this series, and I think people are going to laugh at me maybe, but I think New York Islanders here. That's my hot take for that round. Next up, St. Louis Winnipeg. It's a rematch from last season's St. Louis Winnipeg early round matchup, where St. Louis, I think maybe was the first round, and they beat Winnipeg. They weren't supposed to. I think they do it again here. Winnipeg not going to make up their defensive deficiencies against St. Louis. That's my opinion. St. Louis goes on. Next up, Dallas and Edmonton. Edmonton has McDavid. McDavid is supposed to be the next great one. We've got Draisaitl there too. They've got some good offense. Those two guys with a couple of pieces around them, not that much. Their defense isn't the greatest, and their goaltending is an older guy. So Dallas has good goaltending, good defense. I think it's their offense that lacks a little bit there. That's shown in the last couple of seasons. Might not be up to par. Hot take again. McDavid's going to show who he is. Going to have his breakout season of greatness, and if he's going to be a great player, he needs to drag this team up from his bootstraps and take them to the next round. And I'm going to say that he does. So Edmonton. Got to have fun with this, right, guys? And besides, none of it's really on. We don't even know if they're playing. So, but I really do. I think McDavid needs to take his career to the next step, and this is where he does it. Next up, Colorado and Nashville. Colorado, kind of a powerhouse. They got offense galore. Their defense is good. You got Makar. You've got I can't remember all the names. They have a good team. Nashville, underperforming, but also solid team, depth-wise, all that. I've seen a few people take Nashville. I don't think so, though. I think it's going to be Colorado. I don't see Colorado bowing out here. So I'm going Colorado over Nashville. That leaves Vegas Golden Knights against the Vancouver Canucks. I don't know. You know, this one, I don't know where I should go here. I kind of think it's going to be Vegas. I like Vancouver. I don't dislike Vegas. I don't know a ton about them, but I'm still going to go with them because I think it might be, it's possible, Fleury's last season with Vegas, maybe last season of his career, and I could be speaking without knowing here, but I still think they need to do it. They want to actually win the cup, and there was a third season, and they came close to their first one. I think they advance here. So Vegas Golden Knights. I don't know if that's enough reasoning, if it makes sense, but that's my reasoning. Next up, I will take a quick break and put up the next board. Yeah, oops, I jumped the gun. There's no board to put up. I am going to do these series now. Okay, so we got Boston, Philadelphia. That's a matchup I haven't seen in a long time. Boston, Philadelphia. I was saying at the beginning of the season, I thought Boston was going to have a tail off, and they were going to finish lower than they did. They didn't have that. I don't think it's going to be a problem for them to beat Toronto because they have their number. I think this is where it's going to change, and I'm actually predicting Philadelphia is going to take this series. Philadelphia. Maybe that's weird. I don't know, but I think Philadelphia, they've got, I think they have something this year. I think they're going to beat Boston. If that's how it ends up. Now, next up, Tampa Bay, New York Islanders. I kind of think the Islanders might be a little overmatched here. I don't think they have enough offense to take on Tampa. As long as Tampa's clicking on all cylinders, plus I think that team is just, they won the President's Trophy last season and then bowed out in the first round. This year, they were number 2 seed, but I think this is the year they're going to make that push at least a little farther. I don't think they bow out here, so I'm taking Tampa. So, yeah, so that's the East. So it's going to be Philadelphia, Tampa Bay. That's my East prediction. on the west side, St. Louis and Edmonton. St. Louis and Edmonton. So if we go on with my McDavid pulls his team out, what's the word? I said it before. By the bootstraps, that's it. Does he continue here in this round against St. Louis, the defending champs? Honestly, I don't think so. I think they get this far, but it's a good omen for the future and showing that they're gonna be a team to be a contender. My words are failing. So I think that's this round here. Edmonton bows out, and St. Louis goes on to the Final Four. I don't see at the beginning before the season started, I thought St. Louis would have a drop-off and finish more in the middle of the pack, and they didn't. They're a really good team. I think they're too strong for Edmonton. Next up is Colorado and Vegas Golden Knights. Colorado and Vegas Golden Knights. I know there's some sort of a history there between those two teams in the last 2 years. And I think this is where, for Vegas, I think they've beaten Colorado. Now, I could be wrong. I don't remember what happened last year, but obviously Vegas got to the finals the year before, so they went through everybody. I think I don't think that happens this year. I think Colorado takes this series. What color are we in? So I'm going to go with Colorado. St. Louis, Colorado as my finalists in the West. And then that brings us to, to the middle now. Philadelphia, Tampa Bay. Philadelphia, Tampa Bay. I like Philadelphia. I think they're a good up-and-coming team, but are they strong enough to beat Tampa Bay? I think they give it a good run. I don't know if this goes 7, but I can see this going 6 games, and I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. I just think Tampa Bay is a very strong team, and I think they really, really need to make up for last season. And I'm going to go with Tampa Bay there. On the other side, you got Colorado and St. Louis. Is Colorado that team yet where they can beat St. Louis? Will St. Louis defend their Stanley Cup? And I'm going to say no. I think Colorado actually wins there. So I'm going to go with Tampa Bay, Colorado. I think Colorado might be too strong offensively. Even though I know St. Louis is a good, solid team all through their ranks, I see Colorado here. I just think they're going to be too strong for them. And there's not a lot of repeat winners for the Stanley Cup. Even though they were a Cinderella team, I get that. I don't think they repeat. So that leaves us Tampa Bay and Colorado for the Stanley Cup. I'm at a loss here, and I'm going to kind of go eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I think both teams can win this, obviously. I think both teams are really strong offensively. They've got good defense, good goaltending. Maybe Tampa Bay's goaltending is a little bit better here. And I'm kind of going to say that I'm going to go with the goaltending being the winner out here. I think Vasilevsky needs to prove himself for some reason again. Yeah, he's a great goaltender. He needs to prove he can do it in the playoffs. And I think he's going to do it for Tampa, the color relay. So I'm going to say, without getting hit by that, Tampa Bay, Cup winner. They should have won it last year. If you go by, they just dominated. They should have won it last year. They didn't. This year, everyone's kind of second-guessing them. I think that's the year they do it. So there you go. There's my predictions. I kept it under 20 minutes. So if you liked it, give a thumbs up. Really appreciate that. Leave me any comments in the comment section. How crazy you think these picks are and what you would do if you want to list them all out. Do that in the comment section. Really appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. Ring that notifications bell. And that's going to get you your daily fix of Blue Blanc Rouge right here at Talkin' Habs. Thanks, everybody, once again for watching. Peace out and stay safe, all.